Today we're taking a look at the new Be Quiet light mount and dark mount keyboards, courtesy of Be Quiet. So picture this. You're in a scenario where there's a bajillion mechanical keyboards out there. You're shopping for a new one. You can pretty much pick up a mechanical keyboard at any price point, cheap, mid-range, or super expensive. And you know you want that nice clicky feeling, that ARGB goodness, and numpad support, maybe even some media buttons, or a screen if you're feeling ritzy. But you know that your significant other, your family, or that one coworker, or even you, really can't stand the sound of super loud, super clicky mechanical key switches. Everyone's always showing them off. They are super cool, but they can get annoying. Well, Be Quiet is coming out swinging here with the launch of these two high build quality keyboards, both featuring super easy to configure ARGB lighting, hot-swappable keys, MX style switches with linear or tactile switch models, really nicely braided USB-C cables, and some configuration in their software. The light mount keyboard comes with a numpad built into it, and the dark mount keyboard comes with a detachable USB-C numpad for when you want it in storage, or if you want to use it on the left or right hand side of your keyboard, which is a super neat and unique feature. As for the actual switches for this keyboard, this is basically the quietest, fully mechanical keyboard that I have ever used or heard in my life. No more annoying your coworkers 5 cubes away from you, no more annoying your family at home when you're making too much noise, just a premium mechanical gaming keyboard experience, and of course, a little ARGB for that extra performance. As for how Be Quiet made the keyboard so silent, the switches are all pre-lubed. They even took care to choose a PA66 nylon material, which they basically chose in order to reduce the sound profile. They did make note in the documentation that they did pay special attention to those larger keys, pretty much like your spacebar, which is awesome because I've had tons of mechanical keyboards over the years that ended up with a very tired spacebar that gets very loud. And that does not appear to be the case with either of these keyboards. Part of how they actually deaden the sound in these actually also lends itself to how substantial these keyboards actually feel. In terms of that front faceplate, they both have machined aluminum faceplates, which definitely adds a lot to the look, in my opinion. But there's also a foam layer between the switches and the PCB, as well as under the PCB, and there's some silicone padding there too. This design really adds up to a super quiet typing experience, but these keyboards also don't really have a whole lot of flex to them. There's no echoey noise when you're typing or if you move them, which is super nice. As for maintainability, the switches are removable, as are the keycaps of course. Both keyboards come with a removal tool included. In terms of configuring these keyboards, Be Quiet does have a new I/O Center software. This is basically where you're going to do all that configuration and set the lighting patterns and customizations. I had a pretty decent amount of fun looking through the combos and custom modes, as well as looking at these macros. They definitely seem pretty nifty. I don't personally play many games where I need macros or a series of specific key input that you basically tie into one key shortcut, but I do remember when I did play some MMOs last that you probably could make use of this functionality. Even if you don't care about the macros a ton, you can actually configure the macros to do other interesting things like maybe open an application or do something inside of an application. As for the difference between the light mount and the dark mount keyboards, you'll notice that the dark mount keyboard does have 8 dedicated programmable application buttons. These buttons also support custom 140 by 140 pixel images, which is definitely over the top in my opinion, but it's a neat keyboard, and if you go to a LAN party, you'll definitely be able to show that off. These are on top of the detachable numpad, but it's worth noting you can use that software to configure special actions with your light mount keyboard as well. The buttons just aren't quite as cool looking. As for how these keyboards sit on your desk, the light mount keyboard does utilize that 2-foot standard system where you have the larger one that increases the angle and the smaller one that basically folds inside of the larger one to give you a lower angle. Really depends on your personal preference and what's comfortable while you're typing. As for the dark mount keyboard, we do have these included magnetic feet squares. You pretty much will attach them on the back side where the feet already are, And you have enough of these to create one entire row across to give you a little bit of lift, and then you can create 2 rows across that will give you even more lift. I definitely like this system, but I did notice when you add both layers of the magnetic feet, the rubberized feet on the front side of the keyboard do kind of lend to it slipping if you have a really smooth surface like I do. My desk is sanded super flat, and then I stained it a couple of times, so it does move around just a touch, but I don't know if it's a huge issue during gaming sessions. My ideal setup for either the light mount or the dark mount, though, is the smaller foot height. For me, that's the most comfortable while I was typing. As for the media controls, the light mount keyboard does have a solid clickable wheel for media control. It's more of a basic type of control, but if that's all you need or you're looking for, it's nice, compact, and it works well. The dark mount keyboard does come with a USB-C connected media dock, which is kind of a nice and interesting upgrade. There's definitely a sturdy feeling with that wheel spinner that's on it. We've got some buttons for moving around the built-in screen as well. The dock does have an included button for physically going back and forth, which you kind of expect on keyboards like this. And you can go through those menu options and set some stuff in there. Play around with it. You can definitely get a nice config on this media dock, especially combining the look with those programmable buttons on the numpad. I definitely think that this is a nice setup here with the dark mount keyboard. It really truly is a successor to the Everest Max keyboard from the Mountain GG branding, which is actually part of Be Quiet Now. And that's really where I think this keyboard came from. It shares a lot of DNA with the older model, and I definitely like that one as well as this one. In terms of the ARGB on these keyboards, it's definitely a solid implementation in my opinion. You can raise the brightness, you can change the patterns, you can even change the direction that the patterns go in, and you can set custom patterns or actions. When you type a key, for example, it lights up a certain color. And this was all extremely straightforward to configure inside of the Be Quiet IO software center. A lot of people generally are a little weary of installing extra software for their keyboard just because it either doesn't work or it gets a little funky, but I was playing around with the IO center software and it seems awfully stable. I was able to set and configure multiple profiles for each keyboard, and the software recognized that these keyboards were actually different. So there was a different profile for the light mount and the dark mount on the same PC when I was switching back and forth between them, which is really nice to see. I think the IO Center software is definitely well prepared for gamers. Of course, I should include a clip of typing on these keyboards. You'll notice it's relatively silent. Yeah, as I mentioned, super quiet. I really like these. The keyboard that I'm using now on my benchmarking test rig is one of those older EVGA, I think it was a V20, maybe 25, something like that, or Z25 keyboard, and it is a mechanical keyboard, does have nice ARGB, and it's just crazy loud. I'm definitely going to replace that with one of these. I think the light mount keyboard will get the job done. I actually do a lot of the benchmark testing at night, so it'll definitely be handy to have a quieter keyboard, as that'll kind of matter. I don't have to worry about slamming down keys or anything like that. This sound is definitely not going to travel past my soundproofing. As for the dark mount keyboard, I think I might swap that into my main YouTube PC on the set here. And the older Everest Max keyboard that I've been using still works pretty nice, but I'll probably give that to my better half since it's also similarly quiet and has many of the same functions, albeit a little bit older. The extra buttons on the dark mount keyboard are definitely going to come in handy. I don't do a whole lot of gaming on this PC, though I do sometimes, but I'll probably set those buttons up for OBS recording, maybe some stuff with DaVinci Resolve, maybe a button to just open Audacity for recording, and maybe something for Chrome. There's a lot of options there. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, the wrist rests are included with both the light and the dark mount keyboards. They're really nifty. I almost always use the wrist rests with my keyboards. It really does help reduce the strain or the stress on my wrists and hands, since I'm probably at a PC about 16 to 18 hours a day on average. That's a little crazy, so I do kind of have to pay attention to ergonomics and making sure that I don't overstrain either of my hands. Both of the wrist rests connect really nicely with a magnet basically, and provide total coverage for the keyboard and the numpad area. But yeah, as I was saying, I'm going to swap that dark mount into use on my main set PC. and I'll probably give the Everest Max to my better half. She really does like mechanical keyboards, but she definitely hates the sound. She doesn't like it, and nobody on the conference calls that she's on likes hearing it either when it gets captured through her microphone. As for the overall value, these keyboards are definitely bringing a premium gaming mechanical experience. Typing on these is practically silent. They have good ARGB support. The I/O Center software is pretty solid from what I can tell, and the extra nice to have features and quality of life stuff that they've added to these keyboards really does increase the overall value in my opinion. Of course, when you have really nice, really well built keyboards, they're not going to cost 20 bucks. The light mount is coming in at about 160 bucks at the time of making this video, and the dark mount is coming in at about 250 bucks at the time of this video. It's definitely a little more expensive than what you might be able to get from a louder or unknown brand, but I don't really know that you can get this kind of experience with any other keyboard or get it reliably. Like you heard, these keyboards are basically silent, but they are still mechanical. They do have a ton of extra gaming features and productivity features that are basically built in, and the overall experience was just really good using these. So if that kind of value makes sense to you, I think that these prices are pretty much in line with what you'd expect. If you want to learn more about either the light mount or the dark mount keyboards, or pick one of these up for yourself or as a gift for somebody, I'll leave an affiliate link in the description below, so definitely head down there and check that out. If you got any value out of this video, go ahead and smash that like button. And if you're into PC gaming and the occasional home lab video, I know it's been a while, make sure to get subscribed to the channel and ring that bell for notifications. Until next time, keep on gaming.